Oh, hello world, it's your boy, Big Data, coming straight out the underground, and today we are going to talk about how to help veterans. Today's guest is Bill Benson. Bill is a fellow devil dog and grunt. He was a machine gunner, and Bill is an enthusiast for old military trucks. His truck, Old Grumpy, has been so influential that just by simply parking it somewhere, it attracts veterans. With the veterans come the transitional experiences of force multiplication that have the possibility to blossom into something grand and meaningful for the veteran community. I am highly confident at the end of this period of instruction, you will be able to take what you have learned and apply it to your self-awareness. And that's called value. And because of that, you should like this video. Remember that sharing is caring. Check out all of Bill's information in the video description below. Please leave comments because they improve ranking and add prominence. Subscribing is what winners do, but smashing the bell is what legends do. This channel breeds legends. But first, AI news. You too can help prevent the death of someone suffering from an opioid crisis. A world-class data science team have created a daily forecast calendar that can predict with over 97.5% accuracy which days are high for drug overdose deaths. That's more accurate than a farmer's almanac. It was created with a machine learning model, or AI, called seasonal autoregressive incremental moving average with exogenous factors, or Ceramax. So, if you know somebody suffering from an opioid problem, check out the calendar in the video description below and give them a call on the indicated days. You might just save a life. Tell the world about you.
Which facet?
Let's start when you were 18 years old and you realized you had to go to Vietnam.
I'm not that old. That was 1984.
Okay.
So, all right. I
guess that was really rude of me. Holy shit.
Yeah, thanks for the ageism, buddy. Semper Fi, dude. I was 10 years old when Vietnam ended. However, in April of 1975, my old man was stationed in Subic Bay in the Republic of the Philippines, just across the Philippine Sea.
Okay.
We used to listen to AFRTS Vietnam. I heard the playing of White Christmas, which was the signal to evacuate Saigon. I didn't know what I was listening to, but I remember, why is there Christmas music happening in April? And 72 hours later, I think, my father was one of the duty officers on duty when they first started seeing the Vietnamese boats coming across the Philippine Sea. And my mom was a Red Cross volunteer at the time and was involved in setting up the Grandy Island refugee processing station. So I wasn't there in Vietnam, but it definitely impacted my life at that point. So
good. So this was a good probing question.
Yeah.
That got a good story. So White Christmas, didn't even know about that.
Yeah, White Christmas was the code to get the hell out of Dodge.
Dang.
For the fall of Saigon. Now, what was interesting was, here's the first sea story, which is actually true. Because they had a lot of kids that came through Grandy Island, the word went out for a toy drive. You know, all the dependent kids in the dependent housings, if you have any toys that you've outgrown or you can spare, could you donate them so these kids have some toys to play with? I had a full set of the small Tonka truck fire engines. And a few years earlier, the old man had gotten an engraver and had gotten, I mean, if it stood still, it got engraved. I mean, me and the dog are lucky to have made it out. But all of my toys on the belly had Benson, last name, B-E-N-S-O-N, and my father's block handwriting. All right. Well, I had outgrown these things. I wasn't playing with them, so I donated them to the kids in Granny Island. Okay, fast forward. The space shuttle that broke up over Texas on reentry, what year was that? That year, my military vehicle club was participating in the Tet Parade in Westminster, California. And at that point, I had one of my M37s, 3/4 ton truck, like old Grumpy. And we went through the parade. And first, I will tell you, South Vietnam exists. Mm-hmm. The South Vietnamese community, and you better make sure that you delineate South Vietnamese community in Westminster, California, is only slightly less patriotic for America than they are South Vietnam. I mean, they, given a chance and given a budget and given a war chest, they would go back and take their country back. So we went through that parade, and they are very gracious hosts. And the guy that invited us, we all gathered in this big restaurant, and there was a Vietnamese guy sat next to me, American, obviously. Mm-hmm. And we started talking, and because I did have a connection with the Grandy Island refugee processing, I mentioned that, and he said, yeah, I went through Grandy Island when I was a kid. I remember, and he told me about his dad bundling up the family, throwing them in the back of a truck, getting them to a pier, hustling them onto a ship, and getting the hell out of Dodge. So he shows up. And so I said, yeah, I kind of told him a little behind the scenes that we, us kids kind of supported you. We had a toy drive, and I donated a whole bunch of little red Tonka fire trucks, and his face went white. And he says, I live right over here. Come here. Come with me. We went to his apartment, and on his, he had this wall of remembrance and such, and on there was a little Tonka fire truck. And I said, okay, that's impressive. Now, not having touched it or anything, I said, okay, take a look at the belly. Let's look at the belly. And we picked up the belly, picked up the truck, looked at the belly, and it said Benson. Wow. This is one of my trucks. And it was one of those things where he made it, you know. He made it safe and sound. I don't have to worry about that little piece of trivia in my life.
That's a good feeling.
It is.
That must have been really surreal.
It was.
To experience that.
And the fact that, I mean, he was a successful businessman. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he lived the American dream, and I had a little part to play in helping him cope during that part of his life, and his whole family was able. I mean, he was one of the feel-good stories of the Vietnam refugee stories. Was his whole family managed to make it, started a small business, and then worked their way up from there. Now, you know, he was a businessman of some sort. His kids were getting ready to be doctors and dentists and stuff like that. So yeah, it was very fulfilling.
Yeah,
and it was good for my soul.
Oh, for sure.
And then another guy said, "Hey, I'll trade you your truck for my Jeep." No, no. But that was a fun event. But yeah,
dang, man. So
that's my connection to Vietnam.
And what a good one.
Yeah, and there are other nuances of Vietnam that have, of course, touched my life. Being part of, I'm a multi-generational military family. Mm-hmm. It stopped with me, my kids, and none of my kids are in the military. But my grandfather had his battleship blown out from under him at Pearl Harbor. He was in the engineering division of the Oklahoma. Dad started out as one of the last of the diesel boat submariners, and then went into logistics. And then there's me, and I did the Marine Corps and then Army. So, but all through there have been little twinges of the various conflicts.
Dang. So Well, that's a lot to process. So you did. Let's go back to when did you decide you were going to join the Marines? What was that? What made you say, I'm going to join the Marines?
Well, I've always, for various and sundry reasons, I didn't go the collegiate route.
Yep.
And I probably should have, but there were some things that kind of got in my way, and I was probably my own worst enemy. I knew I was going to go into the military, but I wasn't going to go into the Navy because an enlisted Navy with a bunch of officer parents, who knows if my commanding officer would be somebody who had a grudge against my old man, and then I would get the run anyway. And, you know, having known Marines at that point with the naivete of that age, I saw Marines as like warrior gods. I want to be one of those. So
the dress blues?
No.
Oh.
No, it wasn't the dress blues.
Oh.
It was when we were in Calayan housing in the Philippines, they would take the Marines off the ships and exercise them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was a company or if it was a battalion, but they humped the hill of Calayan. Anybody that's ever been to Calayan housing knows that there's this huge mucking hill. And it was the bane of all of us with the clay wheel skateboards. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used to take that thing down there and a little itty bitty pebble get under your wheel, and I got more blood and skin on that road. It could be one of my dependents. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, you know, thank God for urethane wheels. But I remember watching this unit doing a force march, doing a hump, and I just, not knowing what you feel during a hump, mm-hmm. I just, from the outside, there, these young warrior gods, we're going to go and kick some ass. Actually, it was, I hope to God I make it to the top of the hill. Mm-hmm. But to me, as a 9-year-old, these, you know, like, holy smokes, they were bigger than life. And mm-hmm. So when it was time for me to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, I graduated high school and was working at this bulk mailing company thinking I really need to get out of here. And in a fit of independence, I went down and talked to the recruiter and said, sign me up. And then at that point committed one of the most stupid mistakes in my life. I was guaranteed avionics. I was guaranteed they were going to make me one of the guys that repairs the avionics in FA-18. And then I saw the sands of Iwo Jima and said, if I'm going to go in the Marine Corps, I'm going to go in as an infantryman.
Yep.
Because that's what a goddamn Marine is, right? Yeah. Everything else is just support. But I wasn't going to be a rifleman.
Okay.
I was going to dance with Mother Deuce. I was going to be a heavy machine gunner.
All right. Yeah, there you go.
And so I went into the recruiting office and said, I want to change my MOS from avionics to 0331. And actually it was 0332, I think, was the designation for a heavy machine gunner for 50s.
Oh, okay.
And I could tell you a whole bunch of things about that. Was the transitory period when they stopped having machine gun battalions and they attached heavy machine guns into the weapons company of an infantry battalion. Right.
Okay.
And the details of that transition escape me. And the only reason it's important is because I met this guy by the name of Steve Sable. I'll tell you about him later. But I said I want to be a machine gunner. And the recruiter said, you want to do what? You're guaranteed avionics. You understand that, right? Yeah. I want to be a machine gunner. All right. So February 1984, Parris Island, South Carolina, and yellow footprints, and the rest is, as they say, is history. So, but when I went home that evening, sitting at the table, and I said, Dad, join the Marine Corps. And his fork was halfway to his mouth. And he kind of looked at me, gave that nod, kept eating. That was it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of communication and just that.
Well, I have a feeling if he could have gone back at that stage in his career and switched and started, he would have gone. He was a Naval Academy grad. He would have gone Marine because he really wanted to be in submarines. But this was also when the transitory period when Rickover, if you know anything about the Hyman G. Rickover period of time in the Navy, Hyman G. Rickover was the father of the nuclear Navy. He's the one that kind of forced the U.S. Navy submarine force to go nuke. And he set the standard for naval reactors. And the problem is he was an irascible son of a bitch. And he was the greatest thing in the world for the Navy, but man, he was a jerk. And Dad was more concerned about putting warheads on foreheads than he was learning how nukes worked, I guess. But he didn't make the transition from diesel boats into submarines or into nukes. And I think at that point, if you had asked him, hey, you want to go Marine Corps? He would have jumped at it. Because he went, as I understand, his career path took him through logistics, and somehow he managed to find himself in support of the Brownwater Navy, the Mekong, with all the monitors and the modified landing craft and all the stuff that plied the waters there. Yeah, he got involved in that community. And there are some stories about being, a quarter mile ahead of the bad guys, and the only way he made it out of the situation was because his team had a 3 feet worth of rubber tubing, and they were able to siphon some gas out of a wreck, and that kept them out of a prison camp. So, tales of daring do. So he would have been Marine. So when I said I joined the Marine Corps, it's like, all right, finally going to make a name for yourself. Gee, thanks, Dad. But he was proud of me in his own way.
That's good.
Yeah. And then from there, I left home and didn't look back.
Dude, my oldest just turned 18 today. I know. It's sitting in for me because I remember the day I turned 18. And now he's 18.
Well, I got 6 that called me father.
Oh, wow.
4 of which are mine, and 2 are what the wife brought to the table, and my youngest, because we don't really do the step thing. So my youngest is 20. Picked up his first full-time job, working nights, facilities maintenance, or custodial at Gonzaga.
Yeah, that's a good deal because you can go to school there. I knew somebody who did that. Exactly that. Worked as custodian and went to school.
And that's what his plan is. He's got his head screwed on right.
Good.
He started he was working facilities maintenance at Mokagawa part-time, and then decided, okay, I need to now, hit the gear lever and kick it up a notch. So he went full-time working nights. So he's going to earn his bones. But, he's doing it right. And then I've got an accountant. I've got a chemist. I've got a mechanical engineer who he was working for Disney. I don't know who he's working for now, but he designs roller coasters for a living.
That's awesome.
Isn't that?
Yeah, that sounds
great.
Like a lot of fun.
And then my daughter is, I think she's transitioning to setting up her own business, cleaning houses. But her real pride and joy is she's a professional monster.
Okay.
Yeah, she's working Scarywood right now.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of fun.
Yep. Now, like daughter, like father, 2001, I worked at Not Scary Farm as a monster. So,
well, that seems like a cool gig. I went to Scarywood last year, but I know Not Scary Farm. Not Scary Farm. My oldest and my ex-wife, they went to that when I was living in Southern California, and my oldest was shook up. I'm like, good.
So
he was younger.
I got trapped in California when I got out of the Corps, and we ended up moving up north into Orange. But my wife at the time, she said we did the whole welcome to California, and this is where California was still pretty cool. We did like medieval times. We did the wax museums. We did Disneyland. We did Knott's Berry Farm, and then she said you got to do Knott's Scary Farm, because I'd always, Halloween is a second favorite time of the year. So we did Knott's Scary Farm, and I'm just digging it and grooving it. And we were there right when the gates started and all this stuff. And she was a very organized person. So the very first thing you do once you get past the main entrance is you pull over to the side, you break out your map, and okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do this, and we have to see this and this show and this, that, and then we'll hit this and this, blah, 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 blah. So we pulled out in a little side alcove, and she whips out the map, and she's going on about this, and I got my hand on her shoulder, looking over her shoulder, and yeah, we'll do this, that, and the other. Well, unbeknownst to me, about 10 feet away is one of the doors that the talent used to get from their dressing areas and their staging areas out into the park. And this thing opens up, and this 7-foot tall werewolf walks out.
Ooh.
But he's not in this scare mode yet. He's probably still, chewing and swallowing the last bite of the Twinkie or the granola bar. But he doesn't have his scare on. It's just diddy bopping. And he looks over at me, and I think we both kind of startled each other. I was like, whoa, hey. And I said, you. I pointed to him and kind of beckoned him over. And he looked at me, and then he looked at my wife. And even though he was wearing a full face mask, I'll bet the actor was just grinning. He knew it was up. So he comes over and kind of sidles up behind my wife, and I move out of the way. I take his hand, put his hand on her shoulder, and step back and watch what happens. And she finally gets done, doesn't notice a thing. Where do you think we should go? Well, him being a friendly and helpful sort, he points with his 3-inch claw. And she looks at his claw up his arm, and then at his face, and he, boo, scream. I think she pissed herself.
That's good. That's worth the money.
I'm over here dying. I don't think she ever forgave me for that.
And that's worth the money.
Oh, it was fantastic. I gave him a high five. He's like, shot me a shaka, which getting shot a shaka by a werewolf, hey, that's a special state of grace.
That probably feels good.
And so he did it on and went to wherever he was and did his thing, and we continued on through. So daughter picked up on that, and so she says, I'm going to do Scary Wood. I'm so proud of you. So
good, man.
And then I got one, I think he's a supervisor at one of the grain elevators.
Okay.
In Spangle, I think. So.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
They grow up.
They do. They grow up. And I wonder where they're going to go and how it's going to turn out. I'm sure okay. I mean, there was like certain things in my life that I think like certain milestones growing up that I'm glad they didn't hit. Like, this is a crazy one, but I knew this guy in boot camp. They called him Scarface because the drill instructors were mean, but he was cool about it. But he was like missing a lot of hair and shit because he was a severe burn victim on his head because when he was a kid, he hit the frying pan in the grease.
Oh,
yeah. Dude, that common shit. Like, it's real crazy. So that was something I've wanted to ensure that my kids never did.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just as simple as move the freaking handle in.
Yeah.
that. And
Well, we were pretty. I felt that we were on the right track with no convictions, no arrests.
that's good.
So, and everybody's gainfully employed,
Good.
and I'm proud of them all.
Good.
And now, if I can just get the youngest to get his own apartment, it'll be great.
Well, and then that'll happen, and then they'll be too busy for you and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means I can chase my wife around the dining room table. Never mind.
Yep, I guess so. So, tell me about the Ma Deuce. Was it wooden handles or plastic handles?
Wooden handle.
Wooden handles.
Mm-hmm. My name is Sergeant Benson. I'll be your primary instructor for this period of instruction, which is on the M2HB Browning 50 caliber machine gun. The purpose of this period of instruction is to familiarize you, the individual Marines, with the nomenclature, cycle of operation, immediate action of the M2HB Browning 50 caliber machine gun. This course will be taught with a lecture method with the aid of flip chart. Mm-hmm. Are there any questions?
That's good.
I did that. I can still do that.
You remember the goal mist.
Oh, my God.
Attention, overview, learning objective. Yeah. Good. Good.
And it was great. It was the Mother Deuce. I mean, it's... Now, remember I told you about Steve Sable?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Steve Sable. Now, this is in 86. I had just gotten the heavy machine gun platoon, 2nd Battalion, 6th Marines.
Mm-hmm.
Weapons company. And brand new, had just been assigned a gun team.
Wait, where were you? 2-6 in Lejeune?
Lejeune.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm studying the Gunner's Bible, the FMFM 6-1 Gunner's Bible. Steve Sable he was one of the most senior Lance Corporals, back when that meant something.
Yep.
He had been with 24th Mao, got blown up in Beirut. He was on a heavy machine gun emplacement overlooking the barracks when it exploded. And I don't think he recovered from that, because he was always a little twitchy. Mm-hmm. But he was from Jersey. And it didn't matter where you was. Mm-hmm. Steve Sable would be sitting there with one hand in his pocket and the other wrapped around a canteen cup full of coffee. Mm-hmm. I'm from Jersey. Don't ask me what exit. I'll kick your ass. He was a character. He had also been, when they transitioned, as I understand it, when they transitioned from having machine gun battalions to assigning heavy machine guns, putting them organically in the weapons company, he made that transition. He would be called into the gunner's office, the Marine gunner, warrant officer with the flaming bomb, to talk about, as the battlefield evolved, best uses. How do we use the heavy machine gun? He has forgotten more about the 50 cal than most people will ever know. How to use a 50 cal indirect fire with a forward observer, all that advanced shit. So he walks by my open door. It's a warm North Carolina night, and I'm studying the Gunner's Bible, and he's, "Hey, new guy, what's your name?" "PFC Benson, sir." "Knock that sir off, shit, Are you actually learning out of that book, or are you just trying to make points?" And I said, "No, I'm actually trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing here." He says, "All right, if you apply yourself, I'll teach you everything I know." And for 6 weeks, that's what he did. And I fell in love with Mother Deuce. I someday will have one.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Because old Grumpy wants to be a gun truck for Halloween.
Yeah, it should have a gun on it. You should be rocking a Ma Deuce.
Well, there are plans afoot, but we got to get the business done first. Anyway, so he unfortunately ran afoul of the UCMJ and left our ranks. And I think it was because he was dealing with the trauma of having been near. He wasn't injured, but he definitely felt the concussion when the barracks blew up. And you don't witness something like that and not be impacted by it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So unfortunately, he faded into mediocrity because he shot himself in the foot with the aforementioned belt-fed weapon, apparently, and was invited to leave the ranks, which is too bad because, like I said, he was a character. So,
he proverbially shot himself in the foot, or literally shot himself in the foot? Proverbially. Yeah.
No, he didn't. Come on.
I'm like, yeah,
50
I know.
cal's
I'm
not
like,
long enough. You can't do that. Come on.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Yes, I know.
But if you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot, you better do it with a belt-fed weapon. Make it worth your time.
Oh yeah. If you're gonna fuck up,
go big or go home, right?
Yeah, go big or go home.
But and then from there, there are a few things that I can say I have mastered. I was a damn good gunner. And I was a damn good team leader. And we got tasked to do some support operations for folks where an automatic weapon was required. And we were able to fulfill that mission and do it well.
There ain't nothing like laying some fucking hate, man. It's an experience that civilians just will never experience, and they just don't get. Like, just going behind a belt fed, a Modus, and you sticking your feet up on the tripod, and you're holding down that butterfly trigger, and
oh yeah,
and with the TNE and shit, and
oh yeah,
it's a great feeling. Like, it's better than sex. But it got to the point when it comes to training that it was not fun when you have to clean it. Other than that, yeah, you know what it's like.
You're on the gun line at Marine Combat, not range 314. Mm-hmm. You've got 20 guns online. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a machine gunner's dream. Unfortunately, you've also got 20 knuckleheads behind each one, and these are school guns. And it wasn't the 50s; it was the 60s. I cut my teeth on the original pig, and if you take care of her, she worked great. But if you didn't, oh fuck, she'd make your life a living hell. Having the gun line full, and then some kid taps you on the shoulder and says, "Look," and he's got the trigger housing group in his hand. Is where the fuck is the rest of the gun? And it's sitting there, and it's still firing. You just get up behind it. You don't have time to ask questions. You see that thing sitting there, still spitting, and it's up on one bipod, and you're about a second and a half away from something really fucking tragic happening when that thing spins and fires down so you launch, and your fellow instructors have also launched, and you land on that thing, twist the belt, and then go and talk to the kid because the leaf spring popped off, and then the forward retaining pin dropped out, and the whole trigger housing group came off the receiver, and the kid didn't know what to do.
Yep.
Pucker factor of about 8.3.
So yeah. So you guys had to jump on a runaway gun, just to freaking break the belt and stop it, which is nuts, and I know that feeling.
And my buddy said, "I'm proud of you, B. You didn't kill him." but that does tend to reduce one's enthusiasm once one is in a school community or a school situation. I much prefer being out in the fleet.
Oh yeah, you were an MCT instructor, so talk about. This is a very unique experience. that a lot of people don't have. Talk about grenade day.
Oh. Well, I can't. Because I was an instructor out at 314, and the grenade range was on the other side. The grenade pits were on the other side of whatever that road is that went to 52 area.
Gotcha.
So there was another cadre of instructors that did grenades, and I think that the troop handlers.
Yeah.
When I was a troop handler for Fox Company, and we hadn't yet included the grenade range in our curriculum, so we actually didn't go through that evolution. And then I got transferred to the instructor team out at 314, and then they started doing the grenades. So I'm not sure who ran that, but I got grenade stories. They just don't have to do with the Marine Corps.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. Do you remember going through grenade day?
Personally,
Yeah. What was that like?
We were issued 3 grenade bodies with the firing mechanism, the spoon, and we practiced thumb clip, pull pin, ready,
Prepare to throw.
prepare to throw grenade. And then the freaking instructor to grab my ass and flatten me. All right, I guess I'm getting flat on the ground. I can't get any skinnier there, Sergeant.
Oh yeah.
But that was actually at that was at Camp Lejeune, because where I went through ITS. That's right, boys and girls, Infantry Training School. We did 3 practice grenades, and then we went to the actual pit, and a very angry sergeant. All right, take grenade. You got it? Yes, Sergeant. Sure? Yes, Sergeant. All right, you better fucking listen to me. I gotta fucking thumb clip, pull pin, prepare to throw. Not so goddamn fast. You do it slow so you don't knock it on the... They always worry that you're going to hit your throw hand at the back of the pit, and then it would knock the grenade.
Yeah.
And if you drop that grenade in the pit, you will assume the position of attention so that the instructor's got enough time to get down there and throw it into the grenade sump or over the wall. And let's see how disciplined you really think you are, right? Evolution happened. Prepare to throw grenade. Once again, get body slammed onto the floor of the pit. Boom. Good job, Prive. Get out of here. And that was my experience with grenades.
Yeah.
Now, a couple gazillion smoke grenades later, but that was a whole different story.
Yeah, man, that's a unique story, and you nailed it. You nailed it. Because when I was a combat instructor, well, they changed everything. So you're a troop handler. It's a 3-month long school now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's as long as boot camp.
Well, is that MOS school or is that MCT?
MCT is a month and a half now. It used to be 3 weeks.
It used to be 28 days.
Yeah, it's a month and a half now because of all the more, and it's only going to get longer. Because there's more and more tech, there's more training.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. I mean, nowadays, I remember when I got out of the Corps. I got out of the Corps in '97. Then I joined the Army National Guard in 2006. And there's a story in and of itself.
I tried to join the Army National Guard.
We decide we're moving up to Rockford from Southern California. And at that point, I had traded M37 number 2 for an M1518A2 Jeep, the last of the purpose-built military Jeeps, which is what I had I learned how to drive on an M1518A2 with a 50 cal on a center-mounted pintle. That's how I learned how to drive. And then we transitioned over to the Humvees. So I got an M1518A2 because I thought they were cool. I wanted one so bad. So I traded my M37 for it, and then we moved up to Rockford, Washington. Population 493. Mm-hmm. No, Marcy had her baby. 494. Oh, okay. And so pull in to the house we had just bought, and two things happened. I drove that thing around just trying to get my bearings where things were, and the town rumor mill started going crazy about this. There's this prepper, and the tongue started wagging, and I caught wind of that, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're gonna play that game. All right, I'm gonna have fun with it. Mm-hmm. So I started dropping the following. Do you realize that you can petition the Department of Defense for surplus war materials, which is how the VFW gets the tank, right? Or, you got the airplane on a stick. If you have a bona fide military museum, well, Rockford has a bona fide military museum, so wouldn't it be cool to put a B-52 on a stick right in the middle of Central Park? Man, we'll give shade to the entire town. Big grin ensues. And that goes through the rumor mill like wildfire. One of the movers and shakers of the town actually came up and poked his finger in my chest and said, "Are you planning on putting a B-52 on a stick in Central Park?"
Because they really got nothing better to do.
Right. And I said, "No, but will you please knock off the whole prepper bullshit? I'm a veteran Marine and I've got a surplus military vehicle. That's it, all right? I'm not a prepper. I'm not some crazy dude. I just happen to like collecting military." And so that pretty much died down. Of course, I got pretty close with
I would have kept trolling him. I would have been like, "I need you to buy my buckets of food."
I did talk after talking to the mayor. I got pretty close because the mayor used to sing for our praise team band. Mm-hmm. I was the drummer. I said, well, if I do win the super stupid lotto, and I also at some point was appointed to the city council. So I was a councilman. I said, if I win the super stupid lotto, I'm going to pay off the town's debts. And she said, you pay off the town's debts, and I'll let you put a B-52 on a stick in the middle of Central Park. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'll hold you to that. Anyway, so I'm there. The first year of the Southeast Spokane County Fair Parade, I had my Jeep, which is actually a Ford. And somehow I managed to put it on in a place where it was sort of on display. We didn't just scatter after the parade. This one I actually was able to park it so it could be admired. And I recognized my neighbor from across the street, Matthew O'Boyle. And I didn't know him from Adam, but he was built like a fire plug, and he looked like an O'Boyle. Mm-hmm. So he kind of ambles up. Hey, nice Jeep. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Military. Hey.
Oh, you're a smart one.
You're fast on the uptick. What gave it away? The camouflage or the tactical radios? And at that point, we knew we were flipping each other shit. Mm-hmm. We knew. And he says, yeah, I'm a smart cookie, yeah. So, Marines? USMC on the hood. Yep. Were you in? Yep, sure was. Yeah. You like it? Yeah. What'd you do? I was a machine gunner. 50s? Yeah. Mark 19s? Yeah. How'd you like to play with a 25 millimeter cannon?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm your Huckleberry. Where do I sign up? So I became a Bradley gunner with Bravo Company 1 of the 161, based out of Moses Lake. And that was 2006. And 2008, we went over to Iraq for a year.
Oh, no shit.
And it took the Army, after all the shit that I went through in the Marine Corps, it took the Army National Guard to put a combat patch on my sleeve.
Yeah, the Army, they're all about their patches.
But, there are some operations that I attended where I probably could have made the argument for a combat action ribbon, but I really didn't have any friends in court. Mm-hmm. And I don't know whether whether that it would have applied. We put fucking hundreds of rounds downrange and received a few, but I don't think it made it into, the right channels.
Well, where in Iraq were you?
Oh, this wasn't during Iraq.
Oh.
No. This was during those support operations in Central and South America.
No. I mean, you went to the. I'm sorry. I'm all over. I'm all scattered.
Okay, so 2006, I joined the Guard, Bravo Company, and then Bravo Company went to Iraq in Operation Iraqi Freedom 0809, and we were doing convoy security out of Balad. And I was one of the battle trackers, and I was the ammunition NCO and retention NCO and a few other things because they were trying to figure out what to do with me.
So you had a big PX.
Yeah, I was at Blood.
Yeah. It's the land of the big PX. I went there once.
Mortaritaville. It was Mortaritaville.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of that. It's been a while since I heard that.
Now, the funny thing is when I was there, we did have, Haji wanted to throw rockets at us. Mm-hmm. But the only thing they managed to be able to hit was the sewage ponds. Mm-hmm. So the Army Corps of Engineers like, hey, keep it up, buddy. It means we don't have to dredge. So Haji was doing us a favor. And when he decided to misbehave, I had a pair of F-16s and a quick draw holster. They want to mess with my guys. We bring the pain. Mm-hmm. That was satisfying. The one or two times they actually wanted to come out and play. But at the end of it all, we brought everybody back, all their fingers and toes. Had a couple of guys take dirt naps. Had one guy actually have a confirmed hit on a bad guy. But it was a good tour. Brought everybody back, and then I closed the book on my military experience. Grew a ponytail, got a degree.
There's a lot there. Hold on. First off, let's talk about the chow hall.
Ooh.
And the difference between Marines and everybody else.
Oh my God.
In the chow hall on deployment with where is the Marines rifle on the chow hall compared to the Army?
I don't know.
I'll tell you.
Okay, do tell.
The Marines always have their rifle slung on their body when they're sitting down eating.
That's
what nasty fucking Army puts their shit on the deck. Nasty motherfuckers. I've seen so many.
Then you will be pleased to know. Now, I never deployed with the Marines to a war zone, and the closest I got to an actual field mess was we did our not a macress. We did 29 Palms. We assaulted the Delta T. We did that training, and there was I guess it would be a semi-field chow hall. And of course, your rifle was slung because you ate standing up. Where the hell else were you going to put it? And everywhere else was like aboard Camp Schwab. Obviously, you're not taking your rifle into the chow hall because this is basically a totally admin. But in Bravo Company, there were enough veteran Marines that we took over to a certain extent. Weapons handling and weapons accountability. Because, you know, you and I, that's part of our DNA. Mm-hmm. You don't put your fucking weapon on the ground. Mm-hmm. Your weapon, you'd better at least have the sling wrapped around your ankle, you know, or carabiner to your freaking H harness or whatever you got. But you do not relinquish physical contact with your rifle, i.e. you don't put it on the ground. So our guys didn't do that. And anybody that we found who did, if we could get that rifle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you could
that was the game. Yeah,
that is the game.
Uh-huh. And our boys never lost.
And that, which is, I know, and you understand it. And then because it irked me every time when I went. It used to irk me until the Army started leaving their weapons there, and they had all the better shit at the time, like the newer RCOs and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah. But it always irked me, like going into the chow hall in Iraq. Because when I was there was plenty of Army soldiers co-located with us, and we watched them, just nasty motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Just putting their fucking weapons on the damn deck.
Now, the problem that we had...
forgetting them.
The funny thing is all the guys in the Guard... And this was another thing that I'm not saying it was wrong, but it was very unusual. Because in the Marine Corps, you are issued your rifle and everything you put on it. And ne'er shall that change. Well, this is the Guard. And most of the guys are some form of law enforcement. And the rigs they've got for their personal rifles are better than anything because they've bought their own personal optics. So everything they're packing out into the battlefield is like 100% better than the issue shit. You know, and they're true masterpieces. And then you look at a regular Army unit that doesn't have that, because the Guard will turn it's you know, you got one in your rifle, does it work? All right, whatever. Do I got to pay for it? No. Okay, hey, you know, do what you want. And I saw some very, very nice pieces of shooting iron. So we didn't need to go out and scavenge somebody else's stuff to get better gear, and that may have been a godsend. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we had a platoon of criminals. Yeah. One of our platoons was they almost went off the rails. They were the ones that almost was able to send home a truck.
Yeah, keep talking. Yeah, criminals. Talking about them.
And I loved them to death. I really did. I loved all of them. If you got a little bit more of that lifer juice.
Yes, I do. I'll give you some. Absolutely, right now.
But there are fun stories. There are some fun stories coming out of Iraq.
Yeah. I guess going from the, and I'm going to make some more here.
It's I don't need full, just enough to wet the whistle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so.
And down the road, my service with the Guard will figure prominently. But like I said, it was a good tour. For the most part, good people. And the negative aspects really aren't worth my time to reiterate.
Well, how long were you there?
A year.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a year-long tour.
Yeah, the Army, they do a long shit like that.
Yeah, and I will admit that For about 24 hours when we first got there, I was in a state of perpetual panic. Oh my God. Holy shit. Now we are in the shit. This is a hostile combat environment. Oh my God. Ah! And then, you know, after vapor locking, all right, we're done with that. Now let's get to work. And I really wasn't in a combat unit. I was with the headquarters at that time because I was probably a little too old to be a dismount, and we didn't take our Bradleys with us. So I was assigned to the headquarters.
Did you wish you were with the Marines at the time in Iraq? I know I would only want to be with Marines in a combat zone.
If it had been Balad in 2004, yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I'd much rather be in with a Marine unit. But 2008, I had already been with Bravo Company. I knew I had a good gauge of the capability of the unit, and I was satisfied that for a bunch of National Guardsmen, we did have enough smarts. We were tactically proficient. We weren't going to win any awards, but we knew what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And we had good, solid people. And if we didn't have a good, solid person, then that person had a good, solid NCO above him that was making sure his ass was squared away. Yeah. And most of them were veteran Marines. Mm-hmm. So I really did enjoy one of the platoons. I did hang out with the leadership of one of the platoons, all the non-commissioned officers, because the convoys rolled at night. Their schedules shifted. Mm-hmm. So I hung associated with one platoon, and we would order cigars, and because we weren't subjected to any embargoes, we could order Cuban cigars.
Yeah, man, I got some. Yeah, I got a box, an empty box. I just look at it,
and it's supposedly a dry country.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, that was another thing I was gonna ask. Like, how'd you get alcohol?
Oh, I have no idea. I put my hand out, and a snifter appeared with amber liquid in it, and in the other, a Cuban cigar, well lit, and then we would talk like non-commissioned officers of old.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We would talk shop.
Yeah.
And we would talk tactics, and we would talk how are we going to prevail on the battlefield? How are we going to lead our people? And to be part of that, all I could think of was like, okay, yeah, this is Iraq in the 21st century, but this could be Wellington's sergeants at Waterloo.
Yes. Dude, I did the same shit with my fucking buddies. And
that
Marines
professional...
still do that like,
and
we're sophisticated British officers attacking the colonial rebels, and they should be smoted and everything.
But how are we going to do it? And that was it. We were seriously talking. This is how we're going to do this. This is what our immediate action is going to be. It was all professional shit.
Yeah.
And my jarhead sergeant's heart just overflowed with martial goodness of that experience. And I knew, okay, first of all, this deployment is going to end successfully. If we've got people of that caliber, and you can say nasty girls and National Guard all you want, I'll put these fuckers up against anyone as far as the battlefield proficiency and tactics and stuff like that.
Well, it's good that they're talking about
and it was good. And for the most part, that satisfied what I had been missing since I got out of the Corps. And then when it was done, it was done.
Was it like for some people? Well, then what was your biggest? You alluded to it. Like, what was your biggest culture shock?
The biggest culture shock between my Marine experience and the Guard?
Well, I guess
which culture? From which culture to which culture?
Yeah, I guess from the Marines into the Guard. That would be
They're loose. They were loose.
Yeah.
You know, your commanding officer, calling your commanding officer by his first name.
Yeah.
Was because I was rank conscious like a mother bear.
Yeah, because it means some shit.
Yeah, but I mean, Zach Wadey, we were Wadey's boys, and his call sign was Playboy 6. Mm-hmm. And we loved him. We really did. And he was stern when he needed to be, but he was one of those type of leaders where he didn't need to yell at you. If you ran afoul of him, he'd bring you into his office and then he'd look at you with a look of disappointment. Mm-hmm. Now, I'd never had to stand in front of him, but he captured that ability. He had grown men to tears. I'm sorry, Zach. I promise I won't do it again, because you let Zach down. Now, Zach was also a tab-wearing Ranger, and, I mean, he had earned his bones. He was no panty waist by any means. But he had that sense of, I mean, California surfer mentality, but that leadership, you know, and you didn't want to let Zach down. You gave 110% for Zach because Zach asked you to. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves Zach. Mm-hmm. And we'll get back to that, too. And there's not so happy ending on that.
Oh, no.
But he took us to Iraq, and he brought us back.
Well, that's good.
But, yeah, talking to Zach. And then, I don't know what happened. Things kind of went pear-shaped with our master gunner, one Sergeant First Class. I'll call him Sergeant First Class Golf. Was probably more of a threat to unit morale than the Iraqis were. Bipolar, just, I don't know what his deal was. And things kind of went pear-shaped between him and me. He had led a small, as a corporal, he had led a small security detachment during Exercise Bright Star in Egypt, and that was his claim to fame. Other than that, he was a Garrett trooper of the first water. I had run a fucking heavy machine gun team as a freaking sergeant, as we did in the Corps.
I know, yeah.
I ran a machine gun section as a corporal. And I had a sergeant who was, even though he was superior in rank, his billet was below mine. He was a team leader because he couldn't get his shit together. And the platoon commander said, Corporal Benson, you're the section leader. Sergeant, you're fired. You're third gun team leader. Mm-hmm. So this guy just pulled all these freaking Remph bullshit little, you know, and I finally had enough of it. And I unleashed on him in his office. And as I was doing it, the voice in my head is screaming, "Shut up, B, shut up. You're gonna get hammered. And I just fucking, you are a piece of shit." I mean, and you know, the other me is like horrified. Oh God, you cancel Christmas and your birthday, where you're just gonna, they're gonna erase you. Mm-hmm. And then I turned around and walked out, and the company executive officer, First Lieutenant Posada, who his father was one of the who's who in the Colombian army. He spoke beautiful Spanish. Castillo, and don't make me put, not an accent, but
the King's Spanish.
Don't make me put my outdoor voice on. And when he rolled out that R, oh fuck, it was the hammer of God. But he was this slight, slender, very, handsome young guy. And he's leaning against the door jamb as I walk out of the office, and all I heard was, "Very good, Sergeant Benson. Very good." And at that point, I knew I was bulletproof.
Yeah.
I had a rabbi. And then from then on, he would take, Lieutenant Posada would take a bunch of us. We'd go to the range. Hey, we need to get back because Sergeant First Class Golf needs us to do that. Fuck golf. Let's go to Popeyes. Aye, aye, sir. Wait a minute. Did I just give an Army officer an aye, aye? Yeah, I did. He rates. And he did. Again, another excellent leader. Really. And took care of his people despite certain folks' attempts to I don't know what their game was, but he kept he kept me from doing something I probably would regret, being the ammunition NCO and knowing where all the... Anyway, yeah. So...
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that just reminds me of, like, those little guys. Like, you know, people talk all this shit. Like, oh, I'd punch a drill instructor in the face if they ever got up in my face. I'm like, dude, you don't get it. You don't fucking
You
get
just
it.
keep running with that, brother. I just let me know when you're planning on doing. I'm gonna sell tickets.
I just remember like those little guys, those little Hispanic guys, and some of this one in particular was Puerto Rican, and if you called him Mexican, he'd be fucking.
Was he a drill instructor, or is it just a regular?
Just a regular dude, but even But those little guys, especially the prior drill instructors that gain rank and like come down on you in the fleet.
Oh yeah,
with their little sniper fucking his
before
name was
they
Master
unwind.
Sergeant Cruz.
Before they unwind, because there's a transition period where they come off the drill field and they're not, you know, when they hit the fleet, you gotta, hey, you're looking for, okay, I need to cut that so he'll unwrap.
Remember
but the little Filipino drill instructor,
little Filipino.
Tunda, gents, Tunda. Put him down, Tunda. I want to hit Tunda. Come here, yo.
Yeah.
Jesus, does that come out of that little thing?
Yeah, and they just walk up to you.
Just stay the fuck away from him. Yeah.
Knife hand up in your face. And they're
meanest
like,
little son.
Like, oh God. Yeah,
I just want to melt down.
You don't realize how boldness is a weapon until these little guys are bold as fuck. And it's like watching a big dog just cower down to a Yorkshire Terrier. But
the Yorkshire Terrier, in his mind, he's King Kong.
Yeah.
And nobody told him otherwise. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then you've got do you remember your drill instructors?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember their names?
Staff Sergeant Cruz.
Oh, you already failed.
And then
what is the name of your drill instructor? Senior drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Westbrook. Drill instructor Sergeant White. Drill instructor
Sergeant Westbrook. In the fleet though, and I kind of lost the luster for him, except for one guy, O'Brien. O'Brien was a grunt. There was two that were grunts. One was an air winger. One was a motor T dude. I experienced them all again in the fleet in some fashion.
I saw one drill instructor Sergeant White. Unbeknownst to me, drill instructor Sergeant White had somehow gotten a hold of a time machine and somehow rubbed elbows with George Lucas, because the character of Darth Vader was based on drill instructor Sergeant White. Drill instructor Sergeant White was about 6'5", dark green Marine, slim as a telegraph pole.
Yeah, you said dark green Marine.
Mm-hmm.
Just the biggest, blackest, scariest man you could ever see.
Oh, no, he wasn't the biggest. But he was...
Yeah.
Now, he drove... It was either a Camaro or a Chevelle. But it was blueprinted, board stroked, because you would hear it at 3 o'clock in the morning as it pulled into the 3rd Battalion area. Parasailing. Door opens. First step. Second step. Door closes. Facing movement. Forward. March. And he would hear his footsteps. Hit the door. And then he'd come up, and if the squad bay had that center door, and past the double doors, there was a T corridor coming from the parking lot, and there was the red exit sign. And you would stop. Face. I don't know if he pushed them. I don't know if they did them by themselves, but both doors open. And there he was, the silhouette against the red exit sign.
With that hat.
Come here, Firewatch.
Come here, Firewatch.
And everybody in the squad bay would go, God, evil is on deck.
Yeah.
And he was...
You know hell is on board.
And he was the game player.
Oh.
Of the three. You know, there was dad, there was mom, and there was a game player. Mm-hmm. And he was a game player. And he played games. And we were scared shitless of him. So, fast forward.
The kill hat.
Yeah. So, fast forward 4 years, Camp Schwab, E-Club, Okinawa, in the fleet, salty-ass Lance Corporal, backing out. I got my gun team, and we're talking shit, and I bump into somebody, and I turn around, and it's him. Benson. It's just before we had our name tapes.
And you peed yourself because you remembered.
I locked up harder than shit. My guys are like, God damn, B, we heard your bones crack. You snapped to and braced yourself. He didn't even skip a beat. I turned around, he looked, Benson. And he had me standing there for a good fucking 5 seconds. I was, fuck, drill instructor, Sergeant White, sir. And he looks at me, and he does that, you know, that Leonard Nimoy that he used to impress people by, just go stone cold. And for about 5 seconds. And then a big ass grin, like a black dude can do. Mm-hmm. That big ass grin. Mm-hmm. And he just warmed up. What's up, B? How you doing? Oh. Break loose, dude. At ease. Oh, yeah. And then we went up to, he was a motor transport sergeant for 3rd Recon Battalion. Mm-hmm. So we went up to his room, played chess, drank beer, and he used to tell us all the shit he used to pull as a drill instructor.
Yeah?
Yeah. And just cool as cool could be. But, I mean, yeah, for 5 seconds, I was back at Paris Island.
Well, it's impressive that you see the Marine Corps as such efficient system of making warfighters that 3-month experience was very traumatic. Like you come here, Firewatch. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, and you know exactly what that means. You know,
get over here, pig.
Never. I actually never experienced anything like that.
Calling you a pig?
Nope.
Degrading?
No.
Oh, okay. I guess not. I guess
the worst thing was, come here, you. It was you. And and you know, maybe the years, I mean, this was back in 84, so maybe that's 40 years ago. Maybe some of the bad parts have been worn off. But that's what I remember.
Let me refresh your mind about what Black Friday is in boot camp. It's the day you pick up.
Oh, that I don't remember that.
Oh,
what I remember is I was cold, and there was a black guy. I wish I remembered his name, but he showed up in a beard, and they threw a razor at him, And at that point, I'm like, we're going to die.
Yeah.
And I don't remember anything after that.
I just remember my drill instructor had lied, or my recruiter had lied to me. He said, "Yeah, they won't cuss at you. They can't cuss at you or anything." And as soon as I got off the bus and on the yellow footprints, one of them grabbed me. He's like, "Come here, you little bitch." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess
Well, here we go. Welcome to the Marine Corps.
I guess that's where we're at." Yeah, but no, they totally did, man. I remember Black Friday was the day we like. It was the day we picked up, and all the drill instructors were just fucking choke slamming motherfuckers into the damn foot lockers. They were just choke slamming motherfuckers, and it was fucking intense. And then they would make us drink water until we puked and threw up all over each other.
Well, I don't remember that.
Oh, shit.
The mind blocks out pain.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that and just drilling all day.
But I'll tell you the God's honest truth, though. After so long, the boot camp stories pale in insignificance compared to the shit that I dealt with in the fleet.
Yeah, exactly. Compared to the shit I dealt with in the fucking fleet. Dude, yeah, I used to teach recruits at Edson Range.
Yeah.
I was a rifle coach, and I used to shoot competitively. So I just remember dealing every single day. It was production, day after day. New batch of recruits and having to deal with the drill instructors.
Yeah, I think I had it a lot better when I as an instructor at MCT, because you could. Yeah. You didn't have to be. Everybody there was a grunt, so, or all the instructors were grunts, and then all the students. None of the students were grunts, because all the students that were O3s went to the infantry MOS school. And we got all the, the cooks, bakers, and candlestick makers. And it's we called it the Reader's Digest 28-day how to survive on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. But it was, this is me and all my grunt NCO godliness, leading these poor young and unfortunates to the true way of the force.
Dude, you would not want to be an MCT instructor now.
Probably not.
They get work so much harder than ITB is what they call it, Infantry Training Battalion.
Yeah.
For the grunts. I mean, the grunts is a longer, yeah.
And they have females now, apparently.
Not on the West Coast. And you know what? I don't really know whatever came with that. I know that the Marine Corps spent a lot of money and did this massive study comparing mixed gender units compared to all male units, and the data is pretty overwhelming that all male units are significantly more efficient than mixed gender units.
Well, as far as all that is concerned, because I don't have to go to war with them anymore, it is what it is. It shall be what it shall be. I'm obviously not going to go back into the ranks, so.
Yeah. Whatever. It's fine. It's just, no, that's what the Marine Corps came out with.
Yeah.
That's what they said. And it wasn't like anything political or anything. But, so tell me more. Talk more about, the war in Ukraine. Have you been following that?
Elements of it?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? What have you been noticing? I've been noticing the death of tank warfare.
I'm torn a couple of different directions. Tactically, David and Goliath. I always root for the underdog. what they've been doing with drones, both, improvised and actually, I don't think they've got any actual combat drones. They've been doing a lot of the infantry, dropping shit on people, which is incredibly unfair. But if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Politically, on one side, Putin is pushing it, and I'm really thinking there's a groundswell of opposition against him. And I would like to see that, just like I would like to see the rank and file, average ass in the grass Iranian who are really good people. I'd love to see them rise up and take out the mullahs, because it's the mullahs that are the freaking problem. You take out the head shed, and then let's see Iran get back to where it was in like the 70s, being the Paris of the Middle East. And then Zelensky, I'm not impressed, pulling his bullshit. I also, the amount of money that we're spending on the Ukraine, and I just look into my own garage at my truck and the project I'm trying to field, saying, if you're going to send $1 billion to Ukraine, can you send $1 billion to help? If we can send $1 billion to Ukraine, there shouldn't be, and let's start with our homeless veterans. And then let's go with the rest of our homeless community. And then let's go with all the organizations going to support our veterans in crisis, before we send another $1 billion to Ukraine. And let's have some other countries foot the bill for Ukraine's fight if it's really needed. So multifaceted, and they ain't all complementary to each other. I hope they win. I hope that the Russians realize, okay, we really don't want to fight these people anymore. But, we're spending an awful lot of money that really could be going towards our own countrymen. So, no deep philosophical arguments. I don't know enough about that. So,
I just think in terms of how the battlefield is changing.
Oh, yeah.
And you alluded to it, the drones, man. Like, they're doing crazy shit, like kamikaze drones. Like, dude, that's never been done. Kamikaze drones? Okay. I mean, it's just reinventing an old thing with a drone with an explosive. Okay. But now we're watching it happen.
In real time.
In YouTube, which is fascinating.
Yeah. Or was it Funker 360?
Yeah, Funker 360 all the time, man. I'm always watching that shit. And watching in the trench warfare. That shit is brutal. Oh, also, at any time, if you got to take a piss, let me know. I can pause.
All right. I'll let you know.
All right. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Now, here's something to think about domestically. Everything you see in Ukraine is available here in the States. How many people, how many military-aged males have come through our southern border?
Oh, a shit ton.
Now, edging on paranoia, how many of them are waiting for a particular code phrase before they coalesce into combat units and start some shit?
So like some Red Dawn shit. Good. I'm glad you brought up this point, because I asked somebody else this question, and he was just like total civilian too. He's like, all right, okay, let's set the stage. Red Dawn. All right. It's my favorite hypothetical.
Okay.
Hometown gets invaded.
Right.
All right. So, let's say somehow China. It's going to take a lot of countries.
Right.
But for sure China with their people. They got 100,000 men that'll never have women. So they have a massive population that could, suicide themselves to some major damage.
Yeah.
If strategically placed.
Okay.
I think the issue of moving them here is a non-issue. I think they could be relocated here without detection some way. You don't think so? An entire fighting force? Okay, so you're thinking how?
So they developed this transporter because that's the only way it's going to happen. Every Chinese ship that leaves port has got an American fast attack submarine shadowing it or being aware of its existence. Remember, my old man's a submariner, so I have a lot of faith in our submarine force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so if it goes waterborne, it's not going to make it.
Yeah, here's the hypothetical. They took over Seattle.
All right, so assume they make it to Seattle. Assume they make it to Seattle. Okay.
And they're coming into Spokane.
Well, they got to make it over the Cascades.
They got to make it over the Cascades. It's a very important
so they've
part.
wiped out. So they've probably wiped out Bremerton. They've wiped out Fort Lewis McChord.
Mm-hmm.
But they got to make it over the Cascades. By the time they get to the Cascades, a couple of things have already happened. First of all, every hacker that loves freedom in the world has crashed the Chinese home economy.
You'd hope so.
Just out of spite. Because the Chinese have been doing the same thing to them.
That's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought that up.
So there's going to be
cyber. That's an avenue.
And it's not just going to be military cyber. It's going to be
civilian
these hackers who
cyber.
have the equipment that makes the military shit look like nothing.
Kind of like the Ukrainians did against the Russians, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so they make it to the Cascades. Well, by that time, we know they're serious, so we've got the 1st Marine Division coming up from California. We've got the 3rd Marine Division is probably doing some sort of holding action in the Pacific.
No, just Red Dawn.
Well, yeah, but these are going to be the reactions. You've got a couple of striker brigades. You've got everybody's headed to the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So Spokane becomes the center hub. Fairchild becomes the next Lewis McChord. Surrounding areas become staging areas. The first thing they'll do is they'll set up Patriot missile batteries, because the first thing that the Chinese are going to want to do as soon as they identify that locus of effort is they're going to want to rain hell, hate, and discontent upon the staging areas. And that's going to be in our neck of the woods. We are going to implement countermeasures while we gather our forces to meet them on the plains of eastern Washington. However, in the middle of the night, some freaking stealthy Chinese troop carrier flies in and drops whatever their version of a Spetsnaz team.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to do a mass because we'll shoot them out of the sky.
Okay.
But they may be able to either activate a sleeper cell, which is entirely possible, or drop special operations troops to come in and destroy the infrastructure supporting this area. Which means that I will wake up and see some knucklehead dressed in tack gear that I don't know about arguing with my German Shepherd in my backyard while he's trying to take off his parachute. That's where the Red Dawn scenario begins.
Okay.
So while he's worried about trying to get my German Shepherd out from his ass, then, well, there's a rifleman behind every blade of grass.
Yeah. I ask people that, and I wonder, like, well, first off, what if they just gassed us?
That would be a problem.
Yeah, like,
but
what
then
if
that
they're
would
like, we ain't playing fair, motherfuckers. We're gonna send in this new fucking NBC agent, and we're gonna kill you all, and then we're gonna come in, we're gonna kill off the survivors.
But then they've got to deal with the entire world population that just got pissed off.
Oh, they don't give a fuck. They're the Chinese. They're communist Chinese. They don't give a fuck.
Well, yeah, but the rest of the world will.
Well, they fucking round up the Uyghurs, and they do all sorts of human rights shit that they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but they haven't gotten people pissed off enough to strike back. They gas the United States, and everybody who hates the United States is going to be like, what was the lesser of two evils? oh, they just did that to the States. We need to band together and get them before they do it to us.
Dude, you hope our enemies think that way.
I hope so.
I don't think
also,
Iran thinks that way. I think Iran would be like, yeah, gas those fuckers. We would if we could, but we don't have the capabilities.
The Iran hierarchy does, but not the Iranian people. I still have faith in the Iranian people. But also, if it happens, I'm not going to be around to worry about it. So it's a moot point.
Yeah, you're right. We'll be freaking dead. But what? Yeah.
So, I mean...
No, let's say...
Or I see that Chinese transport and I drop dead of a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's probably most likely what's going to happen. Because I'm old and fat.
Well...
But I mean, it's
or somebody's like, Bill, we scored this Ma Deuce.
Oh,
how do we
don't tempt me, man. Don't tempt me, dude.
How do we set up this Ma Deuce? We got these cans of ammo. We don't know what to do. What's this shit called Headspace?
Well, of course you know. Okay, local folks, need to get spun up to speed. All right, we'll get them spun up to speed. But we're talking about one custom built scenario, which may or may not happen. I mean, it's fun. It is a nice mental masturbation to think about. Oh wow, I see freaking Chinese paratroopers coming down and taking over the Toccoa, scale house. We'll draw the line on the western edge of Spokane, which would be very cool. I'd like to see it. Will it happen? I don't know. Maybe the moon hits the earth.
Well, you know what? Those people in Israel that got killed at that music festival were not expecting people to be parachuting. That's some Red Dawn shit.
And then there is that true enough. Absolutely. Yeah. That is actually a scenario that I could almost see coming.
Mm-hmm.
Israeli intelligence has a lot to answer for. I'm not saying it's their fault, but they dropped the ball something big on that. Mm-hmm. Not being able to detect the trends and intentions that this shit was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I think somebody fell asleep at the switch.
Oh, totally. There's so many indicators.
Yeah.
There were so many players. There's so many mouths running.
And then
they can't shut the fuck up about that. There's no way they all keep it secret.
And I don't know how each kibbutz security system is operating, but in hindsight being 2020, if I lived like 3 kilometers from the border from a hostile nation, my QRF, I would have a 20-man QRF on duty 24/7. I would have 3 different defense platoons per kibbutz, and I'd have a 20-man QRF standing by in the ready room at all times just because of the proximity. Maybe they did, maybe they don't, maybe they didn't think they needed to. I don't know. Hindsight being 2020, I park a platoon of fucking Bradleys and a defensive line. You want to have a music festival that close to that fence? Are you sure? How about you move that somewhere a little further away from the Gaza, fence line?
You know what? Yeah, you brought up a really good point. I didn't think about that. Wasn't very wise. Why the fuck are you playing your Western music that close? I'm not victim blaming, but then again, that might have been provocative.
Well,
and they're evil fuckers with Hamas. I'm not justifying what
they're
saying.
But then again, I mean, again, you got to delineate between the bad actors and the victims of circumstance. I'm sure that a majority of the Gazans, okay, they're not going to be buddy-buddy, but I think they probably don't give a damn. They don't give a damn about what's going on there. They just want, let me go, do my job, come home to my kids, play mouth music to the Hamas overlords, and then go home and just live. And just like the fuckers that did the Beirut barracks bombing and every other terrorist, there is a common phrase heard in every after action report. We didn't think they would do that. They didn't think there would be a suicide bomber with a truck full of explosives willing to blow through that fence, willing to blow through the checkpoint and to the barracks, right? And we see that they ramp up their tactics, and we play catch up. And I'm sure that somebody thought we didn't think that they would attack a music festival. Who in their right mind would attack a music festival? It's a festival of peace. You've got a couple of security dudes with 9 mils. They're no threat to anyone. And civilized people agree. Hamas ain't civilized. They're not human. They're inhuman. They're snakes. In fact, that's an insult to the snakes. As professional warriors, you know what our opinion is of those assholes. And, the other thing, I don't know what they were thinking because, if you think Pearl Harbor awakened a sleeping giant and filled him with a terrible resolve, you just fucking poked the Israelis in the eye. And for however they didn't catch on the fact that this shit was going to happen, hang on to your ass. Hamas has slit its throat because you've got Netanyahu, that IDF paratrooper, with an elevated sense of vengeance on a people whose battle cry is never again. And we're not talking Christian turn the other cheek. No, we're talking about the Jews, an eye for an eye. They will do their best not to kill them what don't need killing. But if you're a member of Hamas, fucking scratch it. You're done. This is it. That was the straw. And Israel's going to tell public opinion, come talk to us when it's done and we've put the last Hamas dog down. So
yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
And, I'm sorry that there are going to be people caught in the crossfire. I really am. And they you can look at the propaganda that Hamas puts out about, they've killed all these non-combatants. The Israelis have purposely developed their tactics to avoid collateral damage. I'm going to drop a very small bomb on your roof. It's called a knock-knock round. And it's just tell everybody, get out of the building because it's about to disappear. Hamas wouldn't give anybody that courtesy. Israelis are dropping leaflets. This is a corridor that you can escape from. And we will not attack this corridor between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. You are safe to get out of town. And guess who's keeping them from leaving? Hamas.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
So... Joe,
you mentioned that. Yeah, I think that's what's going to come. And all these things considered, I had a guy yesterday on the podcast and he was talking about it and he mentioned how, and I was confused because I don't really give a shit about, the Middle East until it happens. But that I didn't realize. So there's Gaza Strip and then there's Palestine or West Bank.
West Bank.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got Palestine, West Bank, and the Golan Heights.
Okay. All right. So the Golan Heights is a separate thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and from what I understood, there was political conflict between those 3 or 2, and Israel said, we'll figure it out, and Hamas just killed everyone. And they're like, yeah, we figured it out. We just kill everyone and take over, and now we're taking over. And then they do this shit, which they've been doing this shit.
But now they fucked around. Now they're going to find out.
And here's the thing is, I remember the Israelis, they dropped off this massive bulldozers to Fallujah. So what I'm telling you about Fallujah is secondhand from my friends who were there. I never was in Fallujah. I was in Najaf. Different battle.
Okay.
But in Fallujah, before the push, the Israelis came and they dropped off these two massive fucking bulldozers. And this is how they reduce collateral damage. No bombs. Giant fucking bomb-proof, bulletproof bulldozer.
Killdozers.
Knocks down. Yeah, the killdozer just knocks down that shit.
And
it's funny because I saw like somebody was like posting some memes of like a fucking dozer just posting like, yep, that's what's gonna happen in Israel. And it's funny because my buddy Donald Baker, crazy story behind Donald Baker, Jesus Christ. But he was telling me about how a few people told me about how the dozer showed up and the Israelis, they like taught him how to use it. And they said, you see. That's all they say. You see. And they saw.
Yep.
Like, oh, we don't need to clear a house. We don't need to like risk a bunch of fucking lives on urban warfare. Just knock it fucking down.
Yeah.
And in fact, you don't need tanks either for urban warfare. You need a big ass bulldozer, knock that shit the fuck down, and that's what's gonna happen to the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, and
Gaza Strip's gonna be renovated.
Every Gazan, every
that had a chance to fucking leave is gonna be a collateral of war.
No, because I think Israel is a civilized people, and in keeping with all the other things that they have done to reduce collateral damage, any Gazan who asks for help for quarter, I think the Israelis will say, all right, we're going to take you and we're going to put you someplace safe. We're not going to let you go. We're going to vet you. But we're not going to just kill you out of hand. I think that even at this level of rage, the Israelis will adhere to the laws of war as best they can.
I don't doubt that they're a professional fighting force. What I think of is like, dude, yeah, it's easy to say until.
But if I can match your face on our database and you're a Hamas operative, you're gone.
The thing is what's tough about it is that when you're trying to deal with civilians that are caught in the crossfire, and you try to be that nice human, and then you take one or two mass casualties from a suicide bomber, then you start to change your tactics real quick.
And here's hoping, and I want to hope for the best, that the Israelis will figure out a way to be able to detect or profile. It's 103 degrees and that dude's got an overcoat on. Wait a minute. What's he hiding? What's she hiding? What's that kid? Dealing with that, I still hope that they will be able to keep their humanity, that they will continue to be professionals and take care of non-combatants once they have established they are true non-combatants. And I'm sure they're also preparing for the eventuality that someone strapped his kid up with an S-vest and that they will do their best to protect the kid from the trigger man. If they can do it, they will. If they can't, we'll bury what's remained as honorably as we can. But, I firmly believe the Israelis are going to go above and beyond to try to make sure that non-combatants are taken care of, do not become casualties. Because if they fail to do that, then the whole world that hasn't already jumped on top of them is going to jump on top of them. But if they can stay on the moral high ground and figure out some protocol to enact to make sure that the non-combatants are safe, I think they're going to come out of this one winning, even if they have to level every building in the Gaza Strip.
Well, let's say they leveled every building in the Gaza Strip. And then what?
Well, if they've wiped out Hamas, and all that's left are the Gazas sitting there with their dicks in their hand wondering, what the fuck am I going to do now? All right. Now that we leveled your shit, now let's rebuild it. But you guys need to get with the program, and, you guys need to enact a government that doesn't want to kill every Jew on the planet, How about creating that society that we were hoping that you would be building, that, there's no reason why Gaza can't be just as beautiful and as fertile as the rest of that strip of coastline. They just need to stop killing Jews for a living and maybe turn to, taking care of their people, growing food, manufacturing things that people actually need, like washing machines, instead of rockets and missiles and bombs and shit. Mm-hmm. I would like to see that, because, like I said, the average ass in the gas Gaza dude or gal that lives in Gaza deserves a good life, just like the regular ass in the grass Iranian. Mm-hmm. Once they get a chance to actually live free, in a society that's actually more functional than dysfunctional.
Yeah.
They could make so much money on tourist dollars because they're on a prime beach. Shit, all they got to do is put up a couple of surf shops, and then they get a taste of that surf life. War? We don't want war. We're too busy partying. Come on.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, it's almost like Israel, you have to be firm with them.
Yeah.
Because one, they do not like submission or humiliation. I think it's one of those, Israel's going to have to be hard and be like the drug cartel, kind of like Plata or Pluma, kind of like, you want to be like UAE or do you want to be dead? If you want to be Muslim, you can be like UAE if you work with us, or you could be dead.
Well, an oversimplification, but I think the dynamics are correct. I hope there's a little bit more gray area in there, but pretty much, yeah, until they figure it out, hey, if we get with the program, then we don't have to worry about, getting smacked. If we demonstrate that life has value, that we can set up a manufacturing infrastructure that isn't based on the weapons industry. And, when the first batch of washing machines goes out and paycheck comes in, all right, this is a good way to do things. We can pay our workers, we can look ourselves in the mirror and say we didn't kill anybody, and somebody can wash their nasty skivvies, And it just takes that transitory period for them to shift out of the whole mindset of we want to kill every Jew on the planet. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we shouldn't kill every Jew on the planet. Maybe we should just focus on making washing machines.
Well, the thing is, I feel that it is their isolation from them that's causing that sort of us versus... Because I know they're doing it. I've seen what they do. I've seen how they parade the kids around.
Yeah.
With little fucking S-vests on in green and black and shit.
Yeah.
Promoting this crap. Mm-hmm. And... It's no secret that Saudi Arabia does not like us, and they teach in their schools 1 + 1 is 2. There's no God but Allah. Muhammad is his prophet. Death to America. And these kids are writing this shit. They are learning this shit. This is no joke. You can watch this on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Like, this is no secret, and Americans don't realize that there is certain countries with a high Muslim populations that the state is instituting this sort of hate against us.
Yeah.
It is incorporated and state ran.
Mm-hmm. So what do we do about it? That's the question. Do we do anything about it? Well,
you do nothing about it, you're going to lose Twin Towers.
We can do something about it, but we need to make some hard choices.
Mm-hmm.
Profiling is going to come into play. Domestic energy production is going to come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm wondering, all these Saudi oil wells, are they being cared for by Saudi engineers, or did they import engineers from somewhere? And if push comes to shove, how do we freeze Saudi oil production? Because suddenly, if Saudi can't export oil, suddenly the dollar stopped. And that's financial warfare. And what the United States actually is going to wind up having to do is pulling in their pickets and start relying on domestics.
You're already seeing that happen with the trade war with China, and we're moving all of our labor to Mexico because it's a third of the price, and they're a third more skilled.
Yeah,
and it makes sense. We just keep our manufacturing right there, so it's just up.
Well, at some point, and I'm going to piss a whole lot of Mexicans off, but at some point, Mexico may become our southern province if the cartels don't stop pulling their bullshit.
And the thing is, I don't think that is a problem that can't be solved. I think that is one insurgency campaign that we could win because we got a lot of Hispanics.
Oh, I agree.
Already serving. They know the language, the culture.
Oh, sure.
And it's not like people like the cartel.
Exactly.
In Mexico.
And
it's totally economic. And if we had all our manufacturing there and they had great living conditions and wages and everything, one, they'd be less prone to illegally come here. Two, it would increase us.
Yeah.
It just only makes sense.
If you can give the term the good Mexicans, most of the Mexicans are good. Mm-hmm. If you can hamstring the cartels, it's like choking out weeds because you have a healthy lawn, And as soon as your basic rank and file, Juan Valdez, actually he was Colombian, whoever, Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez, who are either working at this domestic factory or working in a support industries for that factory, protected by a robust and healthy society, and the cartels are getting squeezed out, and every time a cartel member decides he wants to get stupid, he gets stomped on by a SEAL Team 6, then that would be a wonderful scenario.
Well, I don't think it would be impossible. I think this is the way it's going. Like, we're moving all this industry there. We're going to raise them high on the hog economically, which is going to hurt the cartel. The cartel seems to have already, in certain ones, moved on to other industries like avocados.
Okay.
Yeah. You've been following that.
No, I haven't followed the avocado wars.
Yeah. Oh, no, they move on to other things. But yes, there's still a problem, and they still kill a lot of people. But it's not a problem that can't be solved, and I think it's gonna be solved. And I foresee a future where you're not gonna need, like, people who live in Mexico. It's almost gonna be like Canada to us.
And I'm so cool with that. That would be so great for, and to see folks that came here.
Like, if like somebody from Mexico lives here, it's because they want to live here.
Sure.
And the thing is, there's a lot.
But at the same time, if I want to live down in Mexico, I would love
to go live in Mexico and feel safe.
Yeah, that would be great.
Or wouldn't it be great if you could buy a house cheap in Mexico and have the same standard of living as you have up here?
Right?
And
Sure.
I think that'll eventually be the case.
Or have things here in the United States level off and stabilize down to actually realistic. And everybody's living comfortably. The middle class is reestablished. Everybody's interests are taken care of. Healthy economies. Bad guys getting taken out with the trash. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I'm going to take a pee-pee. All right, so talk about Old Grumpy.
All right. So, I've been collecting military vehicles for about a quarter century. And my vehicle of choice is the M37 series, which is a Dodge 3/4 ton weapons carrier. It's another term for a pickup truck. And they're ugly as sin, but they're beautiful. They got the quintessential military vehicle look. Especially mine, because she's green. She's got big white stars and white tactical marks, and she's just pretty truck. So probably about 6 months now, I received word that another one of the guys that I deployed with had taken himself out. So the tally now stands. Two of the guys, two Marines. I loved them to death. They're just brothers, strongest men I've ever known. Decided permanent solution to a temporary problem. And then remember Zach Wadey, our commander, took himself out.
Oh no!
So it got. I was already heartbroken about comrades taking themselves out, but it finally reached a telling point and put me in a tailspin in a dark and unhappy place. And so I was talking to God. What can I do about this? This is intolerable. This is how can I do something about this? And voice on high said, "Hey, stupid, look right next to you. Old Grumpy, the truck." Well, every time because I always used to travel in packs. It was Chris Davis, Dare Walker, and me actually were the dream team. And there's stories. Oh God, the stories. Every time we took the vehicles out, we would attract veterans. And, Daniel kind of related this. In fact, he was listening. I'm gratified. He was listening to me. We would initiate a conversation. And then once bona fides were established, then we'd really start talking, doing the buddy checks. And it kind of came to a head in this moment of realization that I've been looking for something to devote myself to. And I've got this truck that has manifested this feeling of safety amongst vets enough so that they're willing to talk. Okay, how do I do that? How do I make this dynamic work? And that's the point where I said, okay, in order for this to happen, then I clicked in the military mindset, right? We must prepare for the mission. Stand by for Warno. Situation, mission, execution, administrative logistics, command and signal. Come on, man. Work with me here.
Yeah, so you started making a business plan. Yeah, SMEAC.
SMEAC.
Yeah, I know what's up.
Yeah.
used to do
Freaking
the orders
operations
classes.
order, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so situation, we have the truck. It's a 1953 truck, and it still has everything stocked in 1953. So before we can do anything with this truck, we need to get her back in battery. We need to get her refurbished. There are some safety modifications that need to happen so that she can be relied upon to actually run, right? Because Daniel told you about, I took him for a ride when I pitched, when I was making my pitch, I took him for a ride in Old Grumpy. I pulled up and getting ready to back into Old Grumpy's bay, and she died. And Daniel was tickled. He was tickled to death that happened. And I think that's what kind of set the hook on his interest. And so I'll get back to singing his praises in a second. So I wanted to do sort of a video, sort of a commercial.
Yeah,
so that
I
I
saw
can,
it.
Well, we haven't done the video I was envisioning yet.
Oh, okay.
So this is before anybody even gets involved. And I'm retelling the story that Daniel told you. Brother, can you spare a carburetor? Sort of thing. Take it around to different sponsors, get some money so I can get the truck up and running. So on the 9 Mile Falls Facebook page, I said, does anybody know how to run the business end of a video camera? And somebody forwarded that question to Daniel. And Daniel saw this and he was intrigued. So he comes and talked to me, and I managed to win him over because I wasn't just some jarhead hoorah trying to, bash my way through. There was humanity going on. There was something he could work with, and it wouldn't put off anybody who didn't have an intimate knowledge of how jarheads think. Mm-hmm. So I showed up with, not this one. I did this one later as a joke.
Oh, yeah. It was a cool shirt.
But I do have a collection of Hawaiian shirts, and I was wearing a Godzilla shirt. I didn't even think about it. I love Godzilla. Big green amphibious monster. Every Marine should have aspirations to become one like him. But so I told him what I wanted to do. And he said, well, what you want to do is going to be expensive. How about we look for some low-cost options? Because I see where you want to go. So we'll do this and this and this. All right, that sounds good. The next time we met, he brought Sean with him. And we sat down and started talking turkey. We'll do this, we'll use these resources, this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting there in the back of my mind, I'm watching the scope of the project get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. There are podcasts and potential spin-offs, and we can do this and we can do that. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, guys. I'm just an old jarhead with a truck, a dream, and the gift of gab, and I can't do this myself. And at that point, tears almost came to my eyes. They said, you're not alone anymore. We believe in this project. You don't have to do this by yourself. Oh my God. Tear down my cheek. And then we kicked it off. We committed. And at that point I said, as long as I'm not alone, I will commit to this project. And it took off from there. And we did all the things that we had a preliminary proof of concept podcast session where there was Tanya and Tom, and we have John Goodwin, who's my co-host. And then we had the video. I made the website. Then we had the video, more of an introductory video describing what the project is. And the only correction that I would make on what Daniel said is we don't just want to highlight veterans and stories of inspiration, but we also want to highlight organizations that provide aid and comfort or support to veterans in crisis, either structured like actual medical professionals and mental health professionals and mental health organizations and counselors, etc. And the unstructured, which is the guy that takes vets out on hunting trips, or Hounds for Heroes, or Heroes Homestead, or anybody else that has an organization with a kind eye towards veterans in crisis, or veterans in crisis and their families, or whatever, right? And the idea is to... Old Grumpy is our icon, is our mascot, 5,700-pound teddy bear. Solid enough so if someone gets upset, needs to pound on the fenders, they can pound on the fenders. They're tough enough. They can take it, cry on shoulders. It's comforting, and we want to, as much as we can, include her in the background. And the idea is to have that, remember Daniel said the orange Pelican case with the camera and the microphones? I already have that. I just need to learn how to use it. But to put a couple of chairs in front of Old Grumpy, have a couple of cups of Black Rifle coffee, and have the conversation. You know, and depending on who it is it a vet who's got a story to tell? We'll have that conversation. I'd like to include more people in the project because there's comfort to be found in numbers. And then later on, when we do actually figure out a way to responsibly monetize this, take Old Grumpy to places and a little further than just Spokane. You know, maybe take Old Grumpy to M-Series Rebuild in North Carolina, you know, and have the spinoff be about military vehicles and, you know, that type of technology. But at the same time, go take Old Grumpy to Washington, D.C. and put her in front of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial and have a couple of podcasts from there, you know. But right now we're at the stage where I still need to fund. Right now her engine is getting rebuilt. There's about $1,200 worth of brake upgrades, just for safety's sake, that I'd like to do. So trying to figure out how to get sponsorships and how all that's going to work. Gather together the Scooby team to figure out how we're going to do this. Dude, you got the stone face going on.
I'm just thinking.
I'll see. The problem is, you're a Marine, so I expect if you're thinking to see the smoke come out of your ears.
Oh, no. No, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, and I don't know everything about this, and that's there are a couple of aspects that as this project has gelled. Okay, this is what we're doing. This is what the final outcome I kind of want it to look like. How do we do this? Who has the knowledge of how do you fund this type of a project? Who's going to pitch to a potential sponsor? What can we offer? I don't have these answers yet. But I know the project is a good project. And if properly managed, we can save lives. And the idea is, once you're tuned into the Old Grumpy podcast, you never have to ask, where can I go for help? And that's the question that's in. That's the why. Why are you doing this? So that dude who is sitting there fighting off this last stand demon in his bedroom at 2 o'clock in the morning never has to, who the fuck can I go to? What the fuck do I do? We can snatch his ass out of his despair and show him this is where this is your help. This is the guy on your left. This is the guy on your right. This is the guy covering your ass. Now you can fight the demon and take the wind out of his sails. I like one of my favorite things that I made up, that PTSD is a demon, right? So we're going to wrap a chain around his leg. We're going to drag him into the sunlight, and then we're going to run him over with our trucks.
Dude, I think I see where you want to go, and I also think I have the answer.
Talk to me, brother.
And the podcast should be about organizing an annual event, and the annual event would be, just wait for it.
I'm waiting.
The Old Grumpy Ball.
The Old Grumpy Ball.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
all right. So this is totally new. Go for it. Go for it.
The Marine Corps Ball.
All right. Yeah.
And we advertise it like, hey, if you're a veteran, it's like, I don't know, we'll figure out the plate costs. But you come, you pay for the ball, you get a ticket.
Right.
You can dress how you want. But outside of the event, there's going to be this massive, fire pit. And when you go, you got to throw one uniform item that you owned into the fire pit before you go inside. And all the women can dress up and everything. And then it's like everybody gets every year that ceremony that they never received. Because when you get out, it's like, fucking bye.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's ceremonies in all the way through. But there's no ceremonies getting out. But I think that's a good idea. I think you totally make a podcast centered around getting a ball started. And I think people would totally get that energy going for it.
Okay. All right.
And I think with that, a podcast to organize a ball, and maybe the first year it's kind of 50 people show.
Okay.
Well, fuck it. Maybe you sell out. You never know. You don't know until you ask and you put these ideas in people's heads. But I think you're on the right direction with the podcast. Does the vehicle need to be running now? No. You could have a kick-ass podcast with everything in the back of the vehicle like you're going to the range.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, one camera.
Well, here's the deal, though. Here's the fun part. As this is how it's grown since then. I pulled the trigger on this, and I committed to it. And while I was doing my website up in my office, which overlooks my driveway, I get the call from one Rob Gamel. Who's Rob Gamel? Well, Rob Gamel's dad suffered a birth injury that crippled an arm. And this is World War II, about the time that people were getting drafted. He got 4F'd. Well, his dad is fucking force of nature, so he joined something called the American Field Service, which was a voluntary organization that provided ambulance drivers to the American Army and to the British Army. And they served alongside these forces in China, Burma, India, North Africa, Europe. So Rob's dad drove an ambulance, specifically a WC-54 field ambulance. You've seen them if you've ever seen MASH, those ambulances. So Rob and his brother, for this organization's 50-year reunion, found a WC-54 and restored it and put it back in the same livery as what these guys had driven 50 years before, and then took it, accompanied by a lone piper, to the 50-year reunion. And when I kind of told him about some of the things I'd experienced with Old Grumpy, he knew exactly what he was talking about. He said, Bill, we drove that ambulance, and we chalked it and locked it, and these old guys came up, and they treated this vehicle with reverence. And you could see the memories flowing back into the front of their minds as they touched this icon of their youth.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I know exactly where you're coming from. And I know exactly the dynamics that you're trying to. So he calls me up while I'm working on my website. And what you doing? So I'm working on my website. You in the office? Yup. Can you see your driveway? Yup. Look down at your driveway. And I'll be damn sitting there grinning like an idiot is Rob Gamel standing right next to a 1952 M43 ambulance that was even better shape than old Grumpy. And he said, here's your number 2.
So sweet. Where's he live?
He lives kind of on the peninsula near me.
Oh, okay. So he's local. He's
He works at the 9 Mile Feed Store.
Perfect.
And he specifically said, I'm on the team. So, yeah, old Grumpy's down, but I can still get. And then that is the ambulance version of the M37 series. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going to places, if just by virtue, I mean, old Grumpy could be the podcast location.
Or the back of the ambulance.
Or the back of the ambulance, or anything, as long as there's a plug-in or something.
Run an extension cord from my shop.
Extension cord from somewhere. It can make it work. But like anything, it works if you work it. I think you'd be surprised how you can make it happen, because this is something I've wanted. I just want to make the ball happen, just to see if I could do it.
Sure.
And like, what if, I'm sure it's not too much. I'll have to look at, like, say we did it at the Davenport, right?
Okay.
Right? Like, to rent the thing and the catering and shit at the Davenport.
Now here, let me throw some things out. Now that you've broached the subject, let me throw a few resources out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a member of the Spokane Motor Pool. Okay? Which means I have access to old Grumpy, whatever Rob's going to call his truck, another M37 owned by Ivan I'm still learning his back name, but he's the guy that coordinates all the Spokane military vehicle stuff. I can get you a Humvee gun truck, a completely restored slant back 50 cal mounted full tactical radio and Blue Force tracker Humvee and its cargo brother, couple of Jeeps, maybe a half track. I mean, so you want window dressing.
You have and here's the thing, man. It's about getting, and once the wives and all the women here, they're going to lose their shit. Because they're going to, like, spend all this money on ball dresses and shit. And that's a big thing, too. And that will keep sustained ball generation.
And I hadn't even thought of a ball or dining in.
No, man, I think it's all about that. Just make it a podcast, and you got a fleet of vehicles to market for a ball. So when people are like, you guys could go to one parade. You do the local Fairfield Flag Day, do the Rockford Parade or whatever.
Yep.
Do the Spokane Parade in the convoy and advertise, we have a ball coming up, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be here, a veterans ball, blah, blah, blah. And people will know. And then that would create the event. From that point, the event can then create more acres of diamonds that you can figure out how to do your things. You want to go to DC or whatever.
Okay.
I think it'd be fun. That's what I want to do.
Oh, it'd be great. I can see it.
That's what I really think will actually, because I've thought about this long and hard about suicide, because I've had a lot of friends. I told them all, look, motherfuckers, I can't afford to go to your funerals all the time at the rate you fuckers kill yourselves.
Yeah.
So, and my thought is, ceremonies are a huge thing. I learned about this when I was going to school. Like, And that's something that the Marine Corps does. Like, you fucking hate you hate graduations because you drilled them so much.
But you miss them.
And yeah, but now, like the ball, like just a reason to get dressed up and fancy and then throw the uniform item in the fire. And I'm finding the fire is an important thing because there's a lot of people that like burn their uniforms, to include myself. Like, I burnt some of my uniform items when I got out. And I don't know why people do that, but they do that.
I'm going to take your word for it. I never really felt, I guess because I hold them in such high esteem because of my upbringing, I never really thought, destroying your uniform, man, you wore that during some of the worst times in your life and some of the best times of your life. But
No,
okay, I'll go for it.
One item.
Or a token of something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Sure. Purified by fire.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That death and rebirth to the ceremony where it's like, blah, blah, blah. Here we are. We have a president of the mess. And we have Mr.
Sure.
Vice. We could have a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
So
all the Army guys would be lost, but
Yeah.
we'll bring them along.
Or something like that. And maybe a little cake cut with the sword, some cheesy shit, and like pass things out to like the oldest and youngest and shit. The oldest veteran in the room, the youngest veteran. Yeah, just something simple and cheesy like that. And then maybe like a little video playing during the time, and then the master of ceremonies does this thing like, hey everybody, thanks for being here, blah 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 blah. This is the ceremony you never had. Don't kill yourselves. And
Okay.
This is the old grumpy thing. I want you to enjoy yourselves and get shit housed. And don't beat your wives.
Okay. All right.
Don't drink and drive. Don't beat your wives. Don't stay out of jail. Stay out of the hospital. Give them a safety brief.
Oh, Jesus.
And then let them go.
Well,
And then people can dance if they want. They can do their thing. But it's the ball.
all right. Well, it's definitely something to add to the list of shit that we got to get done.
Yeah, but it totally happened. Like, that's really easy to do. But
We can do it. I don't know if we're going to be able to do anything that fast this year, but do it on the weekend nearest Veterans Day.
yeah, it would be something to shoot for next year, like next Veterans Day sort of a thing. It'd be way too late now. We would have to have marketed, like, we would have had to have started way before. But no, it's totally possible. It's totally doable. Yeah. But yeah, anything else?
Buy war bonds. Grumpy needs a new engine.
Buy war bonds. Grumpy needs a new engine. We're trying to get Grumpy to DC. We're trying to make a Grumpy ball.
In the Grumpy verse.
In the Grumpy verse.
We have a website.
Yes, you do.
The website is www.oldgrumpy.net.
Mm-hmm.
There is a button for donations. There's an explanation of what the project is. There are pictures. There's even a blog. You can see the current members of the Old Grumpy team. And I actually have to add some names to that because we've developing a circle of a board of advisors. So we've got the CEO of one of the credit unions here in Spokane to give us the financial advice. Daniel gives us production resource advice. Sean Spicer gives us editorial advice. Jennifer she's a firefighter, and she pretty much is on overwatch to make sure the focus remains on the mission. So that if we get too close to the trees, we don't get lost in the minutia. She kind of keeps us on track as far as headed towards the mission. John Goodwin he was the co-host for the first proof of concept podcast. He was a Fleet Marine Force corpsman trainer. He was an instructor. And he is also, he's an actor, he's a voice actor, he's a radio personality, a good person to help me, support me while I'm being the host, to make sure things don't get bogged down, make sure things don't get too dark. He's standing there with the life ring, just in case. And then my buddy Ken Plager, who, another Jiminy Cricket, to make sure that our awareness stays focused on the mission. And then Rob, who's the other vehicle owner, and he's also a veteran. So, Rob Gamel.
I bet they'd all love to go to a ball.
I'll bet they would.
Yeah.
Or we just get all the trucks together in some field somewhere and just point them all inboard and have a nice big fire pit in the end.
That might be cheaper, actually. An outdoor ball during, like,
the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then we wouldn't have to worry about the fire pit issue. But then again, I mean, like, if you're dressing all fancy and shit, like, my level of Marine Corps ball is spoiled because of Vegas.
Yes. Okay. So we have the warrior gathering in the fire pit some summer evening, have a couple of kegs, and just have it be a time of fellowship and camaraderie. Maybe, you know, see if we can get a band. It's just out in the middle of a field somewhere. And then have a formal ball with all the trappings to satisfy people's sense.
Right. Let's get a party started and see if you can start a party.
Party with old Grumpy.
Yeah, and then create a better party. That's a good idea. I bet you could find some really imaginative places and spaces if you thought.
I'll bet you if I talked to Tina Bishop of Touch of Country, she'd be able to find us a venue.
Mm-hmm.
Or all the folks that I knew, all the farmers and agricultural folks I knew down in Rockford.
And you could tell her all about how it's a ball and she could wear a fancy dress and do her hair and makeup.
Well, her husband, Dave Bishop, is a vet. And she would look stunning. Mm-hmm. She's one of those people that just her internal energy can power a small city. Yeah. You know, and just a wonderful person. Mm-hmm. And she could help out. Golden Gem Mercantile.
Yeah, Golden Gem Mercantile. I know that place heading over to Fairfield.
Yeah. Alicia.
You got a whole network of, the Harvest Moon could probably help with a keg, maybe.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
There's that Rockford Bar and Grill. They might be able to help.
Well, that's Fredneck's.
Fredneck's, that's right. Fredneck's.
Because Pete Abbey is also a Navy vet.
Oh, yeah. Well, my old neighbor Don, he goes to Fredneck's all the time. He lives in Fairfield. He's a Navy vet, too. He'd fucking go. Shit, yeah, I'd love to invite him. Yeah, well, it's not hard. It's just a matter of just make it happen. But yeah, you're right, man. A lot of people do come around a podcast, and they come around those vehicles, so it's very, very influential. So, well, yeah, you got anything else?
At some point, now I'm not going to say the drawback, but we're always adding to the team because we don't have duty experts for everything. Mm-hmm. I would love to find somebody who would be willing to. And before I say this, let me back up and say the scenario of the wedding photographer. If you take pictures for my wedding, you can use them as part of your marketing, so I'm not going to pay you. Mm. You know, that dynamic, we've heard that dynamic. Mm. You know, do this for your own market. No, you want to get fucking paid. You're a professional photographer. I'm trying not to have that dynamic going on. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if someone wants to invest time in being our social media engineer or a social media producer, to run the website, run the Facebook page, Instagram, whatever, all the social media stuff.
Oh, yeah, I can help you with that. It's just a matter of, do you have anything else? Because we're running on 2 hours, 30 minutes.
Oh, I got 30 minutes to go.
Yeah, okay. You want to go to You want to go to 3? We could go to 3 if you want.
Let me just say my spiel and
Keep
then we'll
going.
be done with it.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm sorry for being rude. Shit.
Correct yourself, Marine.
Jesus, I'm sorry. I'll pace myself later. All right, carry on.
Push.
I'll push. Shit.
Anyway, I need somebody who understands social media. Eventually, we want to have merch. Somebody who... Daniel is going to kind of front run the pitching to sponsors. I'm gonna catch him. He's gonna hook him, clean him, and fry him, because that's what he does. But anybody else who'd be willing to beat the bushes for sponsorships, we do have a financial analyst or a financial advisor, and we have Old Grumpy has her own bank account. And we can make sure and it's all predicated on doing the right thing.
This is you guys have done way more than I thought you've already done. I thought you just made a website and a video.
Well, we need a few more duty experts, and we can hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole idea is to start producing informative content to save the lives of our brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And anybody that wants to join on the team now, when we can figure out how to responsibly monetize this, the priority is we're talking about old vehicles. So we're talking priority is to maintenance and upkeep of the vehicles, and then fair compensation for fair labor, in some way, shape, or form, and do it right. Now, you want to know the secondary agenda?
Send it.
Because the Old Grumpy Project is a collaboration between veterans and filmmakers. My mission is reducing the impact of PTSD to prevent suicide among veterans and others who are in crisis. But Daniel also has his agenda, which is the Old Grumpy Project being a good platform with the possibility of allowing up-and-coming film technicians of varying disciplines, grips, electrical, editing, etc. He's scratching my back, so I'm going to scratch his and throw the platform open so that anybody in the film industry who wants to add something onto their resume, they do the Old Grumpy Project, and it's a learning by doing because there are mentors available. And instead of working on some classroom project, work on something that actually has real world impact. And they can throw that on their resume. They can have that experience. And if the project goes the way we expect it to go, being well managed, eventually someone's going to be able to say, yeah, I was an editor on the Old Grumpy Project, and have that mean something within their industry. So that's the secondary agenda, is to provide an opportunity for the filmmaking community to be involved in a project that has meat on it.
Internships.
Because Sean's willing to teach. Daniel's willing to teach. There are plenty of folks who are looking to build the filmmaking community here in Spokane that would be more than willing to teach these up and coming, the next film crew that's going to get fielded, Mm-hmm. And it's exciting for me to be a part of that. Because, I've been wallowing in my military identity for so bloody long, and now I get to get out of that and meet all these very talented people with completely different perspectives, and I am having a hell of a good time. A good group of people, and it's good for me. Just the associations.
The entertainment industry is entertaining.
It is, and it's
Yeah.
And
that's part of understanding what makes a successful business plan is knowing what industry you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, if you would have asked them, what industry are you in? They would have said filmmaking. They would have said, I'm in, we're in the marketing industry. No, we're in this industry. No, you're in the entertainment industry. You're there to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
Entertain, educate, inform, and empower veterans to not kill themselves and ask politicians serious questions. You want politicians coming on your podcast, so you can give them your blessing. You ask them that hard question. What's your plan to get your veterans to stop killing themselves? And see what they say.
Yeah, we'll get there. If we want to have the slimy scumbags on I'd rather have veterans and Hounds for Heroes and hunters taking veterans out on hunting trips to bring down big game, and the veteran old grumpy ball. And
I think it's
really
really
we get
cool.
Cardi B, and maybe she'll sing a song.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Man, I think it's exciting. So what else? What other you got planned?
We'll take it day by day. Things are still, I mean, you talk about gelling. I just figured out what the old Grumpy Project is. It's a media company is what it's going to be.
It's an entertainment company.
Well, as part of, but the subsection would be production. A media production company is actually what it would be.
Yeah, a media production company.
I mean, that's what you'd put on the
entertainment industry.
In the business plan, But I just figured that out. So there's still things to be figured out.
Yeah, and just asking these simple questions.
Sure, absolutely. And then there's
what do you make?
What am I in it for?
501c3 charity?
How about
you make it an S corporation since you want to sell merchandise?
No. I'll do a financial sponsorship with a larger organization. I actually have one in mind, but I'm not going to say it right now because I don't have authorization. I haven't had the conversation, but be sponsored financially by another 501c3 that provides holistic services, not just for veterans in crisis, but to strengthen their families so they have a power base which to fight the demons of PTSD.
Okay, so you know what? You brought up some good points. So I'll ask this, because I ask these questions all the time to different guests, because I like to see what the answers are.
Because?
I got a whole thing.
Oh,
yeah. So,
you asked Daniel, why? Because?
Yeah, that's why.
All right, ask the question.
What is money?
A tool. A means to set the stage, to get the equipment operational and reliable so we can go forth and conquer.
What is power?
It's the thing that makes the lights bright. Power. What is power? Asthul Sadum. What is power? Is it the sword or the hand that wields it? It's that presumed... Oh, in what genre? In what arena? Is this like in the Actors Studio, the 5 questions?
I don't know.
Okay, 5 questions. What's your favorite swear word? What do you think of when you hear the word 42? Power is an assumed authority to get something done with authority.
Okay.
It's situationally, the contextually based definition.
What is influence?
Influence is the ability to make some bastard do what he doesn't want to do, but look forward to doing it anyway.
It's well put.
Actually, it's diplomacy.
Yeah.
Tell a person to go to hell in such a way he's willing to pay, for the trip.
You are about that shit. So, what is techne?
Techne.
Techne is what the ancient Greeks called. It is a thing. It's very real.
Okay.
It's like the ability to do things others can't. Called techne. They called it techne because I'm a data scientist. I have techne to mine data.
Because I'm a machine gunner, I have techne to employ an automatic weapon to effect.
Yes.
Okay.
So what is techne?
It's the ability to... It is the acquisition of the skill set to use a chosen set of tools to accomplish a job, to accomplish a task well.
Yeah.
Formula One drivers have techne to drive fast in a controlled environment with very powerful machines.
Mm-hmm.
Without killing themselves. And winning.
All right.
All right. So there we go. We chewed on that for a bit.
Okay. So if we have techne and we have money, you've defined power and influence. What is a favor?
What is a favor? A favor is a task that is done on request with only the slightest expectation of a return. Or it's something a very pretty girl gives to you that you hang on your belt at SCA events.
Does the Marine Corps run on money or favors?
Money.
Does business run on money or favors?
Money.
All right. I just ask. I see.
Well, money makes the world go round. And that's unfortunate.
Can you print a favor?
Well, okay, I'm not going to give you the smart-ass answer. No. A favor is a gift. The favor is something more spiritual than material.
Can they print money?
Yeah. Whether it makes it worth anything, that's a whole different ballgame. Because then that segues into, do you have the right to make money? Yes, you have the right to make money. But with every right comes an inherent responsibility. And you can make money, but you have the responsibility to use it wisely. Yeah. And some people miss that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an important thing.
Because if you don't use it wisely, and if you don't voluntarily assume the mantle of social steward, social responsibility, if you don't enact those as part of your business plan, then eventually you're going to have a mob with pitchforks and torches who are going to redistribute your wealth involuntarily. So, what do you want?
How do you redistribute a favor?
You pay it forward. You can. You absolutely can.
Damn, that's a good fucking answer, man. Holy shit. This is why I ask these fucking questions.
The barter,
to see what people say.
The barter system, a favor can be used like any other measured piece of value. In fact, it may be healthier to barter favors because that's the way it was done back in the day. You give me one of your goats, I'll give you 2 of my chickens. That's a favor because I don't have to take your goats and I can keep my chickens. But when we start bartering in favors in a healthy, not keeping score, then it just makes the society that much tighter. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been realizing is when I see these closed economies that I've been in these wars, and I see that they don't have money. They operate on favors. And the more I think about it, I've thought holistically about all of those questions I asked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, business runs on favors. This is what I'm finding.
Mm.
Business can run on 2 things: influence and favors. And if it's not free, fast, and easy, it's not influential.
Okay.
I have a whole different mindset on the world of business. But I mean, this is what I'm just saying in life.
Well,
This is me. But I mean, you can.
So
I'm not trying to say anything as to how you should run anything.
no, one of my issues,
Mm-hmm.
one of my personal foibles is, and let me be clear, I am proud of my military service. I am proud that I earned the title Marine. I am proud to have been a soldier. Gone where I went, supported who I did. But I also came to the realization at the ripe old age of 57, I have been wallowing in that identity.
Same. I feel you.
And I haven't given myself enough permission, given myself enough credit maybe, to expose myself to other aspects of life, right? Entrepreneurship, I kind of dipped my toe in the water, and then I retreated back and became, a wage earner, okay? But I haven't looked into investing. How do I make my money work for me? I'm just now learning the wonders of people who don't think like me.
Mm-hmm.
I am tickled to know Daniel because he brings such a different perspective. We're not going to agree on everything, and that's fine. I am learning so much from him. He has inspired me to either validate what I believe or question it and find a truth that is both truth and comforting or comfortable, something I can live with. Or in Jewish fashion, if I can't handle it, I give it to God. Meeting all these people of the film industry with all these separate disciplines makes me sad that I didn't look into this community decades ago because of the wonderful dynamics, the creative dynamics, and how they made the magic and all that. So I'm sitting back and having my mind blown on a regular basis, and it's wonderful. So another aspect of the old Grumpy Project, and Daniel touched on it, loneliness. I remember what it was like to be part of a team. I was in a machine gun squad.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of a machine gun team. We would go through the gates of hell with a song if we were together. Zach Wadey could call me at any moment to this day and say, I'm assaulting the gates of hell. And I'd say, give me 15 minutes to pack my shit and I'm coming with you. So I miss that. I miss that camaraderie. I miss the friendships. And I haven't had that. So the Old Grumpy Project is a way, under the auspices of helping other people, that I can also help myself by surrounding myself with good people. Mm-hmm. And make new friendships. Mm-hmm. So that's the other aspect of it, is it's healthy for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a very, very meaningful thing. It gives people hope, and people want to create. People need to feel the possibility of creating a better tomorrow.
Yep. And every now and again, they need a road sign, and every now and again, a kick in the ass in the right direction.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. So, yeah, what other things?
Like the old Indian in the movie, I have said what I have said.
All right, man. We've been running for almost 3 hours, so if you're totally done talking, I get it. Like, this long form podcast is.
I've got nothing else.
All right. Okay, that's okay. All right, good. If you're tapping out, I'm tapping out too. Thank you. All right. Then, all right, everybody. You will find everything about the Old Grumpy Project. This will not be the last time you hear of this. There will be more to come.
www.oldgrumpy.net.
Oldgrumpy.net. Be sure to like, subscribe, smash that bell for more data-driven updates. Bye!